Hi everybody and welcome. In today's video we are going to be changing our air filter in a 5th generation 3.6 liter Pentastar Ram 1500. So this is the e-torque version of the 3.6. We'll see our air filter box comes right off to the left side here, right by our coolant reservoir on the side. So a couple things that we can see looking down at our bolts. We have a couple options. So 10 millimeter, you could do Phillips head or you could do flathead screwdriver. The choice is up to you. Any of those work just fine. So we're gonna have 6, so 2 on the ends, 1 in the center there, 1 in the center there, and then another couple on the end. So again, that is our air filter box. For this job today, I chose to use the Wix 42725 air filter. Wix is just a personal preference. I'm sure that there are a lot of options for you. One thing that I'd consider you to research, I'd encourage you to research, I should say, the brand of air filter, because a lot of high flow air filters are also high dirt flow air filters. So depending on where you live, the conditions that you'll be operating your vehicle, and you're going to want to make sure that the filter is the best fit for your application. Optimizing horsepower and airflow is not always the best thing. If you're in a very dusty, dirty environment, you really want to focus on filtration. Second, I chose to do it with a flathead screwdriver today. Reason being, when working with plastic, I really don't like to over torque things, and I find myself sometimes tempted to do so if I'm using a 10 millimeter socket, for example. So that's the reason for my choice for a flathead screwdriver. But like I said, flathead, Phillips head, 10 millimeter, all of those are options that'll work equally well, depending on just what your personal preference is. All right, so our first step here is going to be moving to take our air filter cover off. What you're going to see is a series of screws on the outside edge, and that's going to be what we do first, is to simply unscrew those. See, a lot of people sometimes do this with an impact or electrical tool. Definitely recommend doing it by hand when you're working with plastic fasteners. Definitely don't want to be cracking anything. So there's our first. Working our way around now. Especially on the edge, it's useful to have a magnet. It's easy to drop these after they come out, so definitely want to take your time. Going slow and removing them, it saves you time later not having to pick them up, fish them out of the fender. A few more to go here. right, so we got our last one out. We're ready to swap out our air filter. One thing to note when you are removing it is you want to be sure that you're looking at the orientation of how it goes in. That way when you put the new one in, it looks exactly the same. So we got our Wix filter here, just taking it out of the box. We'll set it off to the side for a moment. So when we pull this up, we're gonna see, is this nice and flat on the bottom here? So we wanna make sure that when we put our new one in, it goes in the same way with the fins down, the metal grate towards the top. One thing I'm being very careful of is I don't want to damage the filter box in any way, so I'm just working on the rubber seal. I'm not leveraging the box. So here's our factory filter. You see the Mopar symbol on it. And one of the nice benefits here you'll see with the Wix filter is not only is it nice and clean, but a little bit more depth. It's a little bit more filtration. It's a good opportunity too, if you see any leaves or debris inside of your air filter box, to clean that out. Luckily mine was nice and clean, so just ready to drop our new filter in. Like I said, rubber seal on the top, metal grate as well. We want to make sure we have a nice even seal around all the edges here, so we don't want to go rushing to put our box on. Excuse the wind. So around all of our sides here, it's nice, it's flat, it's level, it fills the space perfectly, and now we're ready to put the lid back on. So our lid, I want to make sure it seats well on all four corners. Feeling a little resistance in our kind of front corner here, so it's triple checking. And it looks like we're good to go. All right, ready to reinstall. So I like to go diagonal on these. You don't want to go all the way at once. You want to get it reasonably seated. This is definitely not an area where we need to be over torquing by any means, just getting it snug. But we don't want to break any of our plastic. Luckily for us, for the 5th generation trucks, is they're only at most a few years old now, but the older these vehicles get, when you're working with plastic parts, if you've been working with cars for a while, you've probably had that same experience of the dreaded crack. So like I said, I'm not torquing these down by any means. I'm just getting them just snug, not perfect. And we'll do one last kind of victory lap at the end, making sure that everything is nice and good and tight and ready to go. All right, one final one. All right, so we have all 6 kind of loosely tight here. What we're gonna do is just kind of go around one more time, make sure all of them, we're seeing that they fully bottom out and they have a nice snug fit. Again, do not over torque these, don't want to strip anything out, don't want to crack any plastic. And you'll kind of feel it come to the bottom, and once you feel it kind of stop, that's when you know. All right, so we have checked off 6 of these bolts, made sure that they feel good when we're tightening them. The last thing to do is you do want to take your finger and run it around the side. Make sure that there's no gaps. Make sure that the lip is nice and evenly seated. Again, any gaps here are going to lead to dirty air going into our intake and into our engine, which we don't want that to happen. Kind of defeat the whole purpose of changing the filter out. So it looks like we are good to go on all 4 corners here, and we've completed our job.